At the Wings Over Dallas Air Show marking the Veterans Day weekend, a large display was organised by the Commemorative Air Force for their collection of airworthy World War II aircraft. During this display, a P-63 King Cobra collided with the B-17 Flying Fortress named Texas Raiders, resulting in the tragic loss of all souls aboard both aircraft, along with the loss of two priceless artifacts of living history. Now, as a History channel, I normally wouldn't involve myself in this discussion, as the professional investigators from the Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transport Safety Bureau are some of the finest men and women in their field of aircraft investigation, whom my admiration and respect for is beyond measure or reproach. However, when scrolling through social media discussing the event, I have seen so many unprofessional, misinformed, and outright disrespectful opinions regarding this tragedy, with some people even going so far to suggest that this was an intentional ramming attack or part of a conspiracy. Seeing as I am someone who has been in the historical aviation community for my entire life, with flight time in light aircraft as well as thousands of hours of personal simulator time in similar aircraft to the ones involved, much of that simulator time shared with my best friend who is in fact a member of the Texas Commemorative Air Force, I felt that given my audience and platform, I have a responsibility to counter the misinformation and offer an informed, if speculative, opinion on what has taken place. So what I'm going to do is show the footage, which if you have read the disclaimer, you will understand is not easy to watch, and then discuss what I think happened and why. And then I will turn you over to the official press conference from the Commemorative Air Force. However, I must stress that this is simply informed speculation. We don't have any of the facts. There will be a full investigation done by the FAA and the NTSB, which may and most likely will change the analysis as more information becomes available. Because as the saying in aviation goes, there are no accidents, only mishaps. And until the facts are known, we won't know the true cause. Anyway, with that in mind, let's play the footage. As we see on the footage, the P-63 collides into the fuselage section of the B-17, through the waist gunner's compartment, severing the tailplane from the aircraft. This impact completely destroys the propeller assembly of the P-63, while reducing the airspeed to almost zero. The impact almost certainly either knocking out or killing the pilot. The B-17 and its crew suffer a total airframe failure, with complete loss of flight control, onboard fire, travelling at speed while far below recovery altitude for either safe landing or bailing out, resulting in the death of all on board. Unlike with all tragedies, the very first question to be asked is why. Looking at the evidence, neither aircraft takes evasive action. This is what has caused some to speculate that the collision was in fact an intentional ramming. But while that is certainly an avenue that will have to be explored, given how close-knit the CAF is and the type of people that fly in it, I know some of them personally, I consider the odds of this so small that I dismiss it out of hand. I may be wrong, but I find it unlikely. What this indicates to me, and most other aviation people I have discussed this with agree, is that neither pilot or aircrew of either aircraft saw one another. The first thing these aviators knew about the collision is after it was too late to do anything about it. With that hypothesis, we then proceed to the next question. Why did neither aircraft see the danger? Now, we will have to act on assumption here, which, after official review of the flight plan and traffic control process, it may change. But given that the B-17 is at a lower altitude, maintaining a steady speed, and of course is the far larger aircraft, the initiative of the crash, for lack of a better term, is in the hands of the P-63, as that aircraft was the instigator of the collision via its speed and maneuvering. Why did the P-63 not see the B-17? To understand that, we need to discuss the design of the aircraft first of all. The P-63 is a fighter aircraft manufactured by Bell Aviation, the much improved successor to their most famous fixed-wing aircraft, the P-39 Airacobra. The Bell Cobra series has a number of experimental features, the most notable being the mounting of the engine in the center of the aircraft in an attempt to lessen drag and improve the quality of the center of gravity. This freed up the nose of the aircraft to house heavier armament and, most crucially, a nose wheel assembly. The Cobra is rather unique when compared to other fighter aircraft of the time, as it had a tricycle undercarriage instead of a tail-dragging design. This drastically improves visibility and ground handling while, as it suggests, on the ground, but it comes with a serious drawback. Due to the fact that there is now a large cannon, along with the propeller shaft and a very complex nose gear assembly, the nose of the Cobra is long. Very long. Consequentially, the cockpit is positioned further back, and visibility is compromised. This is not helped by the fact that the Cobra has a very unconventional cockpit design as well, with a box frame and a side door instead of the standard sliding over-the-top canopy, which necessitates a very complex cockpit layout with a cockpit box frame, further restricting visibility. Finally, the engine's position, along with the side door, and in an effort to improve the aerodynamics of the aircraft, the wing spar and primary aerofoil of the Cobra is mounted at the very bottom of the aircraft, with the cockpit positioned right over the main spar in the center of the airfoil, meaning that the widest part of the wing is right beneath the pilot and lower down, completely obscuring his view. Simply put, of the many aircraft flying that day, this has one of, if not the, worst forward visibility of all the aircraft airborne. Combine that with the fact that this is the P-63 variant, which has a much higher acceleration and a much higher top speed than the earlier 39 variant, you have a very fast, very high-performance fighter, which has very restricted vision while maneuvering. With all that in mind, I'll now go over to an impromptu review of the footage from a wide angle, while I'll talk through as I watch it what I think happened. Okay, so we're going to start with this footage here, which is taken from the flight line, okay? Because I want to set the scene of the accident, or the mishap rather, where we're at, okay? So as you can see in top left of frame, we have the B-17, the Texas Raiders, up here. And they are currently in a parade circuit with a B-24 Liberator, and I believe there is another twin-engined aircraft to the rear, perhaps a C-47. Can't make out from this video quality. Okay? Off to the right, we have a fighter carousel, or a fighter parade circuit. This is a group of P-51 Mustangs and the P-63 Cobra. Okay? Now, the way a parade circuit works, as you can imagine, is the various aircraft take turns flying over the field for the airshow viewers to see them. And of course, the fighters do rolls or loops or barrel rolls, depending on what they're doing. And they're in a line. They're in a carousel, a circuit, a parade. Which means they continue flying past in a sequence. Alright? So, we start here. So the B-17 comes in. And so you see the Mustang. The Mustang is off here to the right of frame. So, the parade lap of the fighters is already off screen over here. So they've already made the turn. Okay? And you can see that the P-63 has not yet made the turn. He's not completed the turn just yet. And of course, impact. Now, that is the initial part to show you just how crowded the sky was. They had a whole column of fighters doing maneuvers on the right-hand side of frame, so off their port wing, or their left wing. and they had a whole queue of bombers behind them. The B-17 had a whole queue of bombers behind him. Okay? Same with the P-63. He had a whole circuit of Mustangs, Spitfires, whatever you like. They're all in circuit behind him. So there's a lot of traffic going on. So there's a lot of flight planning and a lot of radio communication with everybody to make sure everybody is where they are. This is a very crowded airspace. Okay? Now, let's move to the wide shot. Okay, so this is the wide shot from the close angle. So you can see here, this is vital. Hold up, I'll push it forward. So when we were talking about the visibility of the P-63, you can see what's happening here. He's currently in a hard left bank, or a left bank. So his wing is left wing low, right wing high. He's obviously trying to keep in the parade formation. So the pilot's eyes are almost certainly looking at the Mustang and judging his relative position to the Mustang in front of him. He therefore can't see the B-17. So even though the B-17 is right here, he can't see him. He is completely blind. The long nose, wide wing, cockpit position, and the way his aircraft is orientated, he cannot see the B-17. Now, this is the angle which I think tells the story. Okay? So, I'll play the clip. So you can see that the B-17 is at low altitude. It's in a slow left bank, coming in for his parade lap over the center of the airfield, maintaining low and steady height. So his slight descent, low left turn. All right. Now, if you hear that Merlin engine, that is a Mustang flying over us. So right over the top of the head of the person holding this camera, a Mustang has just flown over us. All right. And there's the second Mustang behind him. So this is the parade lap. Now you can see that this Mustang is almost wings level. So his wings are almost leveled out. So he's completed his turn. And he is flying in the parade lap over the airfield. Now look at the position of the P-63 here. Now given the relative position and distance of the two Mustangs, you would expect, if we were going to use a local landmark here, so you see this telephone pole here, you would expect that if he was maintaining a slow echelon right position in the circuit, so he's slightly off and to the right of the Mustang and given a bit of space, so he's a bit behind them in the circuit, you would expect the P-63 to be wings level to have completed the turn, and he would be in this bit of sky flying over this person, and the B-17 would carry on just fine over the center of the airfield, right? But if you look at it, I also want you to take note of the relative speed of the Mustang here. So the Mustang crosses us at maybe medium speed. So the first one flew over, and then this one, relatively normal speed. Now have a look at the P-63. Have a look at that closure rate. That P-63 is, at least by my visual reckoning, moving a lot quicker than those Mustangs. So, he's going a lot faster than the Mustang, and he's almost caught the Mustang up in the parade lap. So, if he follows direct pursuit, he has to pull a tighter turn, okay? And on these older aircraft, if you're pulling a tighter turn, that means pulling harder G-force, and that can damage these aircraft. And they are museum pieces, so you don't want to be too aggressive with them. The other factor is that the P-63 can have a nasty snap stall, which is if you do a sudden maneuver at speed, or either at high speed or low speed, which can cause a snap stall, which will result in the pilot losing control of the aircraft. There is another famous P-63 accident which happened in a British air show, where a pilot attempted a maneuver and snap stalled the aircraft and crashed into the ground. Okay, so this P-63 realizes he's going too fast and can't make the turn, so he's trying to get separation away from the Mustang while continuing the turn in order to rejoin the correct position in the circuit. Okay, at least that's what I believe happened. As I said, the NTSB and the FAA will do a full investigation, and perhaps it might have been a air traffic control mistake, or it might have been the B-17 was in the wrong place of sky. The B-17 might have been ahead of schedule or behind schedule. It could be one of the others. There's a whole lot of variables, but from what I'm looking at here, this P-63 in terms of the parade lap is out of position. At least he looks like he's going a bit faster than he should be. Because if he continued with that turn at that speed, he would overtake or catch up with the Mustang. And that would be dangerous. That would be very dangerous. He could collide with the Mustang. So he thinks he's doing the right thing by getting lateral separation from the Mustang and continuing a wider turn, so he can then slip back into the correct formation. However, because his left wing is low and his right wing is high, and because of the poor visibility forward of the P-63, which I demonstrated in the comparison video just before this, he is completely blind. He cannot see the B-17. He cannot see him. And so... oh no! Impacts the aircraft. As I said, though, this is all theoretical, and we must not forget that this is a horrific tragedy with loss of life, as well as being a serious blow to the preservation of historical military aviation, something that I have a passion for, beyond which I really can't explain. Saying that, I will now turn you over to the Commemorative Air Force officials, and once again advise you to let the NTSB and FAA do their job, with the confidence that they are the very best in the world at what they do. Thank you very much for watching.
So as Leah said, I'm Hank Coates. I'm the CEO and President of the Commemorative Air Force, and good afternoon. Before I do get started, I do want to say, please, to the DFW area, if you have it in your mind, express some prayers and thoughts for the crews that were involved today, for the people that saw it, for the family members. Obviously, this is a very challenging time for those families. And when I say family, I meant the CAF family and our customers that follow us all over the world and enjoy our shows. I also want to thank the Dallas Police Department and the Dallas Fire Department and the Dallas Airport Department, all the first responders. They have done an amazing job. They responded immediately. They were on scene. They have been handling this in a supremely professional way, and I can't thank them enough. The airport and all the first responders have been true professionals, and I appreciate everything that they've done. So at approximately 1:15 today, we had two aircraft flying. One's a B-17, one is a P-63. The B-17 normally has a crew of 4 to 5. That was what was on the aircraft. And the P-63 is a single piloted fighter type aircraft. There was an incident. It is being investigated by the FAA right now. They'll turn it over to the NTSB at approximately 9 o'clock tonight when NTSB comes on scene. FAA is the on-scene commander until the NTSB gets here. The NTSB will be doing a very thorough and complete investigation, at which time they will release a preliminary report, which will be followed up at a later time, usually a significantly later time, once they do engineering analysis and interviews and everything like that, which will follow later. So the families are being taken care of. They're receiving counseling, not just of those actively participating in the issue, but also the CAF folks and any folks here that may have seen it and have issues with what they saw, and obviously with our first responders. We want to make sure that they're supported as well. So it is a trying time, and we appreciate your patience and your help through this, but we also realize that there's a message that needs to get out. So are there any questions?
So you said typically on the B-17, 4 to 5 people, and then the other plane, the P-63, single pilot. Can you talk about how many people were actually on at least the B-17 today?
I can tell you that it was normally crewed. I cannot release the number of people on the manifest or the names of the manifest until I'm released to do so by the NTSB. I just can't.
And are you able to confirm, I mean, obviously we saw the flames, we saw the smoke, casualties involved?
Again, that's something that until I get consensus from DPD, the fire department, FAA, and NTSB, and we are absolutely sure that all the next of kin are notified, I can't release that information. When that information is able to be released, Leah will have it, and she'll be your point of contact to get that information.
Can you tell us Commemorative Air Force and who flies the planes during the year?
Sure. The Commemorative Air Force has over 180 aircraft. They're all over the world. They're all over the United States. They appear in air shows almost every weekend of the summertime. Some air shows like this one are produced by the Commemorative Air Force. We appear in others. This is a World War II flight demonstration type air show where we highlight the aircraft and their capabilities and what actually happened in World War II. It's very patriotic. The maneuvers that they were going through were not dynamic at all. It was what we call bombers on parade. But beyond that, there's not a lot for me to say.
Are the people who fly during this air show volunteers for your organization?
The people that are flying to the air shows are volunteers. There is a very strict process of training and hours. It is all the pilots are vetted very carefully. Many of them have been flying for us for 20, 30 years or longer. So this is not, what I can tell you is this is not their first rodeo. These guys are very well versed. They spend their summer times. Many of them are airline pilots, retired military pilots like myself. So these guys do very thorough training. They have a lot of minimums they have to meet and criteria they have to meet. So this is not just somebody that's out doing something. These are very well trained folks that have been doing it for a long time.
In shows like this, just how rare is it to have a mid-air collision like this?
I can't really speak to that. In a show like this, it's probably, I would say, extremely rare. Until the NTSB actually comes out with a report on the causal factors and what actually occurred, I can't really comment.
Were there any paying customers on the bigger plane?
No.
You said these were not dynamic maneuvers that were being performed, but are you able to just describe, if you were watching, I'm not sure if you were watching this on the ground when the impact happened, or if you've seen any video, do you know at all what the plane that came from behind was attempting to do? Or was that part of the normal show?
What I can tell you is you've seen the same video I've seen. Until the FAA allows me to speak to what happened, it would be inappropriate for me to speculate. I mean, I can look at it from a pilot's perspective and I can make a judgment, but until the NTSB says this is what happened, that's what happened. And I can't really speak to it. I appreciate the question, but I can't.
Sounds like your organization is a pretty tight-knit group. You've got a lot of repeat volunteers,
Mm-hmm.
probably a lot of repeat customers.
So the Commemorative Air Force has about 12,000 members in the United States and in Europe. We have 180 aircraft. We fly about 6,500 hours a year in air shows and training and tributes to veterans. Our motto is educate, inspire, and honor. That's why we do this. We take it very seriously, but it is a lot of fun. And we are a very close-knit family. I can tell you this is an extremely close-knit family. Everybody knows everybody. And the outpouring of support that I'm getting right now, that Leah's getting right now, is amazing. We have a lot of fans. Our families ride on these aircraft. My wife rode on that aircraft last year, and I'd put her in it again. This is not about the aircraft. It's just not, I can tell you. The aircraft are great aircraft. They're safe. They're very well maintained. The pilots are very well trained. So it's difficult for me to talk about it because I know all these people. These are family, and they're good friends. So thank you for the question.
Can you expand on some of the resources for those within the Commemorative Air Force, and if there are any beyond, as far as what they saw today, as far as those who witnessed the tragedy in the accident?
What I can tell you is the Dallas Police Department and the Dallas Fire Department have offered their counseling services to help with this, and I've met with them. They're great people. They're doing a great job. Many of our members are airline or retired airlines. There have been several airlines that have stepped up and offered their services, and we have a group on standby that provides that service. You know, this isn't about a competition, who gets there first or anything. The more the merrier. The more support that we can give folks, the better. And this is not a short-term process, it's a long-term process. So I can't at this point tell you who or what. I can tell you there's going to be a lot of resources available. Like I said, DPD and the Dallas Fire Department have offered their resources, and they're doing a great job helping us as we move forward. So, thank you.
Do you know roughly how many spectators were here for the event today when the crash happened?
I don't know. What do you think? 4,000?
It's pretty hard to say. I would say around 4,000 people, maybe between 4,000 and 6,000 people, because we also have people, volunteers coming
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
a couple thousand people.
How long had it been going
Last
on?
question, guys.
Yeah.
How long had it been going on today? Was this like a finale type thing, or?
No, the show went from 10:30, 11 o'clock till 4 o'clock, I believe it was, or 3 o'clock. So there was another hour or so left in the show before the event. So.
This was an annual show you did that?
Yes, this was the 7th year, I think, Leah, the 7th year that we've had the show in Dallas, and this is the first issue like this that we've ever had to deal with. But it's very well, it's amazingly well received. The Southern Dallas corridor loves it, and people come from all over the world that come see this show. We have friends I've got a real good friend of mine that comes from Korea every year. He's an executive in Korea, and he comes here every year because he loves this show so much. It's a very intimate show. You have the ability to get close to the airplanes and see the pilots. It's not something where they're way over there. They're right here. They're with you. It's very safely done. But we feel it's important that the kids, because we do this for kids and veterans, that they can see the airplanes, they can touch the airplanes, they meet the pilots, so that they can be, they can learn, they can be educated and inspired to do these kinds of things.